big news out of Illinois. It is now the only state to do away with paying cash bail to get out of jail while awaiting trial. Could this be the catalyst for future problems? Joining us now to share their reaction, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds and Andy Kahn from Crime Stoppers of Houston. Andy, I would assume that you are not for that here in Texas. What kind of problems do you think we will have as a result of people not having to pay a cash bail to get out of jail for certain crimes? Obviously, the murders and all of that, but other smaller crimes.
Actually, I think you're going to be surprised at what I'm about to tell you. I have no issue with it, period. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Illinois, because basically the purpose of bail is to ensure that the defendant returns to court. What we're of the perspective is that it should be based upon releasing somebody, should be based on public safety, whether or not they're a continuing threat and whether or not they represent a danger when they're returned to the community. And I don't think money should be able to dictate whether or not someone should be released or not. It should be based upon threat to public safety and the best interest of the community. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in Illinois and whether or not this proves to be effective. Time will tell, but it's going to be a very interesting look.
Now, what you have seen here in Harris County has disturbed you. Tell us the difference of what you oppose here in Harris County when it comes to bond and bail, as that's different from Illinois.
So basically Illinois is going to be putting an extremely high burden on the courts, because judges are now going to have to make that decision whether or not this person should be released, irregardless of bail or how much money they think. Should this person be released? Are they a likelihood to return back to court? Or does this person represent a continuing threat? And therefore, because of the offenses they were charged with, particularly violent ones, we don't think it's in the best interest of them being released. So basically, the judge has become the key factor right now. Where we kind of drew the line on Crime Stoppers is we have no issue with someone getting out on bond. What we were seeing was repetitive bonds, bond after bond after bond, when it became increasingly obvious that this just wasn't working out. And we just felt that judges should be empowered to say, you know what? You tried this bond thing. It's just, you keep getting rearrested and charged again. So we're just going to keep you in custody until you go to trial. That's the issue that we've had at Crime Stoppers. So we feel that judges should actually have more discretion in the state of Texas to not grant bond to defendants charged with certain violent crimes. And actually, Illinois now will have that discretion because the cash bond is no longer going to be allowed.
All right. And State Representative Ron Reynolds, what were the problems in the past that prompted this change in state law in Illinois?
Isaiah, first of all, I think that the Illinois made a phenomenal move to removing cash bail as a prerequisite for a defendant. This is because it overwhelmingly showed from the research that it disproportionately impacted people of color, African Americans and Hispanics, who were poor. Basically, they were penalizing the poor. So if you committed a crime, if you had the money, you could post cash bail. If you didn't, you had to sit it out in court, await your day in trial. While you're away from your kids, you're likely going to lose your job. Your kids may be, if you're a single parent, in CPS. So this is a great move because research shows there was no real impact in terms of whether or not a defendant showed up in court. We were just penalizing the poor and creating a caste system, a system of the have and have not. So Illinois' court determined that it was unconstitutional. Other states are probably looking to lean that way, like California. And you saw a move in Texas when it came to misdemeanor, class A misdemeanor traffic offenses. So I'm hopeful that Texas will move in this direction so we no longer penalize people that simply cannot afford to post a cash bond, that it shows no more likely that they will come to court. And something, Andy, I agree with, we should be looking more of a determination of risk assessment in terms of whether these are dangerous people and they should be incarcerated while they await their day in court. We don't want any murderers or robbers or rapists or child molesters or burglars walking the street, but people who commit low-level crimes, let them await their day in court at home or wherever they are, so that they're not a burden on the system, and therefore they're perpetuating many of these situations that we've seen in Harris County from overcrowding. This led to a record number of inmate deaths.
All right, gentlemen.
Now, how much money you have shouldn't predetermine whether or not you're a risk to society, bottom line.